Should have are the following, and that is this green booklet. Everybody have this green booklet.
Oh yeah.
All right. So you should have this green booklet, and then in your other packet, the only thing that matters is that you have this reading here. Now, this is handwritten, and what they periodically do is, for instructional purposes, they'll copy actual responses to the AP question that year. So this is an actual response. Some student somewhere in the country wrote this response, and that's the only one we really want to talk about. I mean, there are other things on there, but that's the only thing we're really interested in. Now, let's just do this real quickly. If you look at this booklet, this 1995 booklet, take one of each of those, Tina. If you look at this booklet, when you take the test in this room on Friday, they're going to give you a booklet. The only difference is at the top it's going to say 2010. All right? Now, when you open the booklet, what you'll notice is that there is the document-based question. All right? Everybody in the country that takes the test on that day, I think it's the same one. They may have alternative ones now because of the technology, but unless I'm mistaken, or unless there's been some change, everybody gets the same one. Right? So everybody in the country will respond to this document-based question. Now, we're going to come back to that in a second, but flip through those documents, and then it says Part B. Right? Part B. Now, everybody in the country responds to the document-based question, and then after they respond to that, they've got to pick 2 of the 4 of these questions. So you have Group 1 and Group 2. You've got to pick 1 essay from Group 1 and 1 essay from Group 2. And what you see there is kind of typical of the types of essays that are considered to be free response. Now, if you go to Group 2, question 4, it says, analyze the reasons for the emergence of the populist movement in the late 19th century. Now, this is not the kinds of essays that we've responded to previously where there has been some kind of issue where you take one side or the other. These are called expository writings. And what expository writings means is that they're going to grade you kind of on, do you expose that you know anything, right? Now, if you know who the populist is, that's going to be good, right? If you can analyze, which means break down, right, some of the reasons for the emergence of the populace, that's good too. Now, you would organize it in the same way. I mean, you're going to try to have some kind of thesis paragraph that controls your essay, and then some sort of explanation of that thesis paragraph that where you explain it. But you take one of each of those now. You may not write 5 paragraphs for something like this. You may write 3, right? You may write 4. It sort of depends. If you look at question 2. It says, under Group 1, it says, for the period 1750, analyze the ways in which the British policy of salutary neglect influenced the development of American society as illustrated in the following. Well, you got 3 things there. So more than likely, this is going to lend itself to 5 paragraphs. Some kind of introduction, and then a paragraph about each of those things. Now, what if you say, well, gee, I know a lot about religion, and I know a lot about commerce, and I don't know a lot about assemblies. Well, okay. I mean, just write whatever you know. I mean, it's not unusual to have on these things where there's a list of something, like you look at 5, you to be stronger in some areas than in the others. And I do think that if you have any kind of option to handle things, that you should do the things that you feel the most comfortable with first, and the things that you feel the least comfortable with second. I don't know if time is an issue, because I never took the test, and I don't hear about people complaining about time. But, I mean, if time is an issue, you always want to make sure that you put most of your time into what you have the best chance of being successful with. All right, now let's go back to the document-based. Now, you may look, and if you looked at this one says for our internet audience, It says, "You are going to die, Wallace," after this question. Now, you people could write something similar to this, right? And that would be that if there is some question that was in the 1960s, and this was the first time in the history of the AP. What's that?
Doesn't it really say that?
Oh, yes. This is the first time in the history of the AP that they ask a document-based question beyond 1945. So 1995 was the first time that the question went beyond 1945. Now, the reason that was the case is, I don't know why it was the case, but it was like startling, that happened. And historically, U.S. history classes kind of ended in 1945, and that was the AP's way of saying, listen, we want you to get further. Not that we did now, but that's what they wanted you to do, is get further. Now, and so they said, Wallace, you die because these people did not know a single thing about this essay. Right? They didn't know a single thing about this essay. Now, I would argue that even though that's true, that these people did not know a single thing about this essay, that they had the documents, right, which is a help. And they probably had sat through a number of Martin Luther King Day ceremonies in their lives, and they probably had some kind of knowledge of, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and some of the civil rights movements that they could incorporate into this response. So, not that we're hoping that you get a document-based question that we haven't covered or you know absolutely nothing about, but if you do, you don't panic, right? We're going to try to respond in some manner. Now, I should tell you this before we get into this question just a little bit, is that when they give you this booklet, they have a 15-minute mandatory reading period, and that's why there's things written in the booklet. So apparently you're not allowed to put anything on the paper that's your response paper for 15 minutes. So you have this for 15 minutes, and the intent is that you look at the questions, decide what questions that you're going to respond to, and then you read the documents and you try to come up with something that relates to the documents, and then, eventually they're going to give you that, and then you respond. Yes, and then yes.
Is that 15 minutes out of the total,
2:05. Yes, it's going to be out of the total 2 hours and 5 minutes, yes. And so then you're going to have, after the 15-minute mandatory reading period, then you have a suggested writing time of this of 45 minutes, and then a suggested writing time of the other two of 30 minutes. Yes. You might write longer on this and less on that, so those are suggested reading times. I don't think, although I never took the test, I don't think that they stop you per question. I think that it just goes on, for the whole length of the time. I don't know that because I never took the test, but I don't think that's the case. Yes?
How long is the multiple choice?
I think the multiple choice is 80 questions, and you get, I want to say, does anybody know, 60 minutes, 50 minutes, 55 minutes for 80 questions? The multiple choice is fast. There's no fooling around with that. What I would recommend with that is this. Please give me your attention. I'd recommend on the multiple choice, if you don't know a question, if you have no idea, skip it and keep going. Make sure you read all 80 of them and then go back, right? Because I'll take one of each of those, Dan, because it's possible that you might know the 80th question and then just sit there and contemplate the 14th question, right? So you want to make sure that you answer, that you at least read all the questions, and then they go back. And they used to put them in groupings, but I was just reading something, I think yesterday, that said now they are randomly organized. So I don't know. Has anybody been reading about that? Is that true? Are they randomly organized? Randomly organized.
Yeah.
They used to put them in chronological groupings. Groupings of like 13 that went by chronology. I don't know if they still do that, but I think I was reading somewhere that they randomly put it. They used to put them in groupings of 13, and they got harder as you went. So the first 13 were like easy, everybody felt good, and then they get harder and harder and harder. You know? All right, well, let's go to this question. I didn't bring those nasty glasses that I have, so you might have to help me a little